Look, you've probably seen it in YouTube comments or TikTok or even on Twitter/X posts. This game is just Friendslop. Or this is just streamer bait Friendslop or clip farm bait. But what the hell even is Friendslop, and why is it suddenly all over your timeline? What does it mean? Are my friends sloppy? Well, no, I mean maybe, I don't know your friends, but for the sake of this video, no. Friendslop is just the internet's new favorite insult for games that are built around playing with, you know, friends. The ones where gameplay takes a backseat to chaos, trolling, and actual human interaction. It's a self-defined subgenre of video games, typically games that focus on player-on-player interaction as the primary driving force, while the gameplay usually serves as just a medium to push that primary force forward. This jargon and quite frankly derogatory term usually refers to games that are typically played with friends and are designed to be from the get-go. You may be familiar with the terms streamer bait or clip farming, and Friendslop is just the newest term in a long list from people upset that they have no friends. Or they're upset that these games aren't polished to be these tight, focused multiplayer experiences or live service slop. Friendslop games typically thrive due to the fact that they require a very human interaction, and to be fair, some people are just really funny. Whether that be selling around due to semantics or seeing a moment that is just too good to pass up. And back in my day, these games just used to be called co-op games or party games, but there's been a rapid rise in the term Friendslop, and I'm here to investigate why, and along the way, try to defend why I think Friendslop games are important, and why they don't deserve the hate that they get. So first up, what games are even considered Friendslop in the first place? Well, I need you to think Among Us, Lethal Company, think Repo, or even the new hype train Peak. Games where the objectives are simple, the mechanics are basic, but the real fun comes from playing with your friends, who, to be fair, can sometimes be dicks. These games simply just exist in droves, and some of the founders of this subgenre still thrive today. But I want to talk about them, why they're important for the gaming industry at large, and why you shouldn't be upset that these games exist, even if they aren't your cup of tea, or you consider them low effort. I mentioned a handful of games before as predominant members of this subgenre, and those are the four I'm going to focus on as part of my defense of Friendslop. Now, this isn't to say that games before these didn't exist. Technically speaking, board games could be considered Friendslop, but I'm mostly going to be investigating games that have had this title thrown at them in the recent months and years. So, without further ado, let's get into this. The first up on this list is Among Us, and you've probably heard about this one, and if you haven't, I wonder what rock you've been living under, and do you have room for just one more person? I am so fucking tired. This game is frankly grandfathered into this subgenre, and may even be responsible for its rapid growth over the last few years. Among Us simply just has one of the funniest interactions that you could ever get from one of these games. The premise is just ridiculously simple. You and 9 other crewmates, or even up to 15, are put on a map to do tasks as efficiently and as quickly as you can. These range from downright easy to why is this so fucking hard, all the while slowly building up an objective bar that you can see right here. Sounds kind of simple, right? What's the harm in playing this? Well, up to 3 of your crewmates just aren't who they say they are. They're imposters. They're sus, who are tasked with murdering and sabotaging you at every single turn. The catch is, you don't know who they are. They look identical to actual crewmates. The game quickly spirals into this murder mystery with friends accusing each other of not being who they say they are, and everyone voting to kick somebody off the map, kind of like Survivor. A good imposter, much like my own parents, will lie, shift blame, and downright gaslight their way to victory. However, the crewmates win if they complete all the tasks around the map, or if all the imposters are found and voted off. The imposters win, however, if a critical sabotage goes off without being fixed, or if they kill enough crewmates. The interesting part of this game simply comes from the human interactions, people screaming at each other and the uncertainty of who everybody is. The gameplay itself is downright simple, and one could even argue that it's boring, but playing it with friends turns it from a simple little minigame simulator into a full-on detective investigation, and with bodies being found and everyone questioning everyone else. So I hope you like your actions being questioned and alibis needed for your every single move. You can see why a game like this might be called Friendslop, because the main fun of it is found with your friends. The gameplay comes from them, not really from the game itself, and I doubt that anyone was logging into Among Us to play the credit card simulator. But interestingly enough, this game actually wasn't super popular when it first came out. In fact, it wasn't popular until some global thing happened that forced everyone inside for a moment. This meant people were looking for more human interactions, and they were being deprived of it in the real world. Games like Among Us became a selling point for those looking to reconnect to their friends and have some fun. And Among Us was the perfect game for those that desperately needed human interaction when, you know, many people needed it most. It also wasn't expensive either, meaning it was fairly accessible for most people to get into, and it was a way to distract from the real world, which at the time was borderline terrifying. It served as a way for us to reconnect and have some fun at the same time, and it led the way for future games like this to follow through. I adore Lethal Company. It's very hard for me to be unbiased about this game, but Lethal Company is one of those games that just comes around every so often that everyone just can't stop playing for a moment, because it was. I still find myself wanting to come back to Lethal any chance I get and make chaos with my friends. Now, come on, follow me. Just run. What is it? What is it?
It was a hand that came out of the walls!
What monster I stole? What did I do?
That motherfucker back there was...
Because if your friends are anything like mine, they deserve it.
Kill Blake! Kill Blake!
Fuck, no!
Oh!
No, don't kill me! Don't kill me! I didn't do anything wrong!
Again, the premise here is simple. You and 3 other friends, or more, if you dabble in mods like I do, are tasked with heading into dangerous abandoned sites around the galaxy and collecting scrap to eventually sell back to the company. You have 3 days to collect as much as possible before you need to return to the company and sell what you've got. These facilities aren't technically abandoned, they're filled with dangerous creatures and terrifying abnormalities that will make you tense from the get-go. There might be a way to get, she might be able to sprint jump into the door if we time it properly, and I'll close it. Ready?
Oh
3.
shit, this is crazy. There's a key, there's a key, there's a key, there's a key.
Wait, grab the key.
Get out of the fucking room. Alright, you ready?
I can
Ready?
ride.
Okay, ready?
Ride.
Ready? Sprint jump.
Yeah.
Sprint jump. Sprint jump.
They're also completely randomly generated, which means you can technically get lost if you're not careful. You have a quota to hit, and I hope you've gathered enough scrap to do it. If you do, you plot a course for the company building at the end of day 3, and you're rewarded with money to spend for equipment and travel fees to go to even more dangerous facilities. You're also rewarded with an even higher quota that continuously gets higher and higher as the game goes on, and you're gonna hit quota, unless, of course, you enjoy being fired and starting all over again. So, back into the dangerous abandoned facilities you go. And what makes this game really fun is the proximity chat that's built into it. Hearing your friends across the room scream as they encounter something sinister just doesn't get old.
Look at that.
There's a cat. Oh god.
He's coming, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming.
Guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Get out of my office. Get out of my office.
Is that a prank?
Of course, staying close to each other is an option too, but as the quota increases, it sort of forces you to be more efficient and to travel to more dangerous facilities in search of valuable scrap. Sometimes this requires you to split up. Wandering around in a facility of darkness is absolutely terrifying, and sometimes hearing your friends' distant screams doesn't help. The worst part is you're completely defenseless. There's some tools to distract or some that can deal damage, but it's not a playstyle I'd recommend. You won't be going hand to hand with anything you come across, because you can hit, but they hit harder. Your best chance of survival if you come across some type of demonic hellspawn is to simply run. Of course, there's a few styles of play and equipment you can use to lessen the threat, but it's never zero. You're forced to work together as best as you can, and let's just say not everyone can make the best decisions when they're under pressure.
Why am I the only one who can actually drive this thing? I don't understand.
A few moments later.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's a real risk of failure here and losing all of your progress. If everyone dies, all the scrap you've collected, even on day 1 or 2, if you're on the last day, is lost. And if you happen to stay too late inside these facilities, your ship will abandon you at 12 AM, putting the pressure on you to ensure you're in and out with as much scrap as possible. However, if everybody dies but one person, that person can still leave with the ship and revive everyone when the day is over. Alternatively, you have that one friend that leaves people behind while maniacally laughing like a symphony of assholes. The real reason that this game gets thrown on the list of quote-unquote Friendslop is because of how viral it got within the streamer community. It was particularly easy to farm clips with your friends, as the blend of horror elements and the eventual splitting up that you'll have to do led to some very clippable moments. Moments where you'd be running away from monsters or screaming down the mic or leaving your friends behind.
No, that's not me. I thought you all died to him.
No, he just came out, by the way.
Ah.
Oh god! Oh my god, he's so fast.
Holy fuck, he's fast. Get the fuck up. Get in.
Go, 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 go! Close the door! Close the door!
What if I just opened it right now? Ah! Fucking asshole.
Inside the game itself, there are also trolling items, meaning that your friends could mess with you if they wanted to, turning themselves into a monster or making enough noise for something in the dark to track you down, which again made for some very entertaining moments.
That motherfucker back there was fucked. I'm in decoy.
But once again, Lethal Company was a trendsetter. It made a completely new gameplay loop that was sort of excellent for this genre. Hidden inside this game was lore, a solid gameplay loop, and it was extremely mod-friendly, meaning that you could customize Lethal to your specific friend group or experience. And personally, I play with 40 mods just to help spice things up, and it's always a blast. Repo is a particularly interesting case study. It's a small published indie game that, like Lethal Company, makes you and your friends enter abandoned arenas to collect valuables in order to satisfy your creator's desires. You're a little bot, and a bot that was created to extract valuables from these maps as quickly as you can. The premise here isn't much different from its predecessor, except it introduces enough here to keep the game feeling sorta fresh.
You fucking dickhead.
First, you only lose if everyone dies. There's no time limit, although the game does get progressively harder the longer you stay inside these maps. There's also a physics-based system at play here. You managed to make that? You can there's a secret hidden door.
You managed to make that.
Fucking idiot.
I fucking hate you.
Meaning you need to be careful when you pick up or collect things, because you can damage valuables to a point where they're worthless, or flat out break them, and guess what? There's only a limited amount of valuables on a map, meaning you can technically fail if you're a little clumsy. And I'm not trying to compare this game directly to Lethal, but you can definitely see the inspiration. Once again, these arenas are filled with creatures that don't want you there. From sneaky masked, demon-looking things that make no noise, to a loud flesh monster that has some kind of void attack. The main difference here is you can actually hide. You're small enough to hide, and as long as you don't make enough noise, you're usually safe. Unless, of course, you were spotted going into your hidey hole, or your friends think it's really funny to sing right then. When you complete an extraction by bringing scrap to a designated extraction point within the arena, you're rewarded with money that you can later use to buy upgrades that last the entire run, whether that be health, speed, or strength to pick up heavier scrap without the need of your friends. There's a greater emphasis here with working with your friends. Valuables might be too heavy, or you need a second or third person to lift them, but also manually carrying something back to an extraction site can impose a risk of breaking it when you run into something you don't want to. It's best to stay near your collection cart and near your team. You can also revive your team, and unlike Lethal, it can be done mid-run.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Ah, that was good.
Provided you collect their head and fill up one of the extraction points. The map differs depending on how many people you have with you. The more people you have, the bigger it is. There's a nice wide variety of map layouts and randomly generated content here that keeps it feeling fresh going in over and over again. Unlike its predecessor, and I swear I'm not trying to compare it to Lethal, but it's very hard when these differences are so day and night, there's actually combat here. Time to take matters in my own hands.
Dead. He's fucking dead.
You can technically fight back with weapons and tools. There's grenades and weapons to swing with and other drones that provide you with some type of assistance. You also get to beat the living shit out of your friends when a run eventually fails, which is great because it gives you a chance to wail on that one dude who threw the entire run. Don't make me do it. Seth, don't make me do it, you fucking dumb son of a bitch! Why did you make me do it? Why did you make me do it? And while you might be thinking that this game is simply a Lethal Company clone, I personally feel like there's enough here to warrant a significant difference. Although I do prefer Lethal simply because it has something that Repo struggles to replicate: atmosphere. Lethal sort of forces you alone a lot of the time, and Repo doesn't. It incentivizes you to stay as a group, missing some of that horror feel that Lethal has. There's nothing like feeling alone even though you know your friends are close by and there's nothing they can do to save you. Ah, Peak. My first real deep dive into wanting to leave my friends behind. Peak, like many of the games that I've spoken about today, is a game typically designed to be played with friends. While it can be played solo, it's definitely an elevated experience while you're playing with your mates. The premise here is a little different to the previously discussed games. Instead of having these horror elements or investigation elements, it's focused predominantly on working together and resource management. You play as a group of scouts, traveling via plane until it eventually crashes onto an island.
Howdy, sir. It appears I have an unsucked Johnson.
To escape, you need to climb to the top of the peak and set off a flare, calling a helicopter to extract you and your mates, or at least your mates that made it. The island itself isn't randomly or procedurally generated, but it's handcrafted, and it resets every day. You start off at the bottom of the island and are tasked with gathering what little resources you can and begin your journey up the mountain. Armed with a backpack and some motivation, you begin climbing. Along the way, you need to manage your ailments, which chip at your stamina bar like it owes it fucking money. There's a handful of things here to micromanage: your health, carrying weight, hunger, poisoning, sleepiness, cold, heat. There's some random things that you can find along the way that can help, but you've always got to manage how much you can carry. Too much and you won't have a lot of stamina to climb. Too little and you could be missing out on items that assist both you and your teammates getting higher up on this mountain. When climbing with friends, they can either help you or hinder you, helping you get up when you're just out of stamina or getting in your way till you run out and fall to an untimely demise. Kinda like Ubisoft's Hyperscape. There's these set checkpoints throughout a run where you move on to a new biome. It allows for you to reset your team if anyone died, or if no one died, you get a really powerful item that can really help you out. Lighting the campfire lights up the next biome and you start to climb again until you eventually reach the peak. However, there's enough diversity here with the biomes to feel like you need to play differently. The tropics, for example, have a lot of windy rock formations, meaning that verticality and using vines is essential to getting to that next stage, while the tundra has this blistering cold that freezes you and your stamina if you get caught in it. Each biome feels diverse and has a unique way of traversing through it. I do wish there was more to this game in terms of biomes or replayability, but it's a solid offering for what it is. Peak is genuinely just a really fun idea. I don't know if it's considered unique by any standard, but it's definitely unlike anything I've played recently. Okay, so I've discussed 4 examples of what this subgenre actually looks like, so you should have an idea of what type of games we're looking at here. But what are the benefits or negatives of playing these games over something a little more premium? I want to start with the positives, as this is a in defense of Friendslop video, so let me make my points. They're simple, and that might sound like a negative to you, but it also means the bar to entry is incredibly low. They're basic enough that even your non-gamer friends can understand the point of them. They're incredibly cost effective. Most of the Friendslop subgenre is very, very cheap, to the point where a handful of them are less than a Happy Meal at good old Mickey D's. I've more than gotten my worth out of these titles, to the point where mathematically it's cost me like 20 cents an hour to play. You need like 500 hours in a AAA title to warrant that kind of return on investment. They have a sort of drop and play gameplay loop. You don't need to worry if your friends have 200 more hours than you because the progress is incremental to the session that you're playing. It's non-committal. You can just drop in and play a match whenever it suits you and your mates. You don't need to grind in your off time to catch up to anyone because they're never ahead of you. It's great for content creation, and yeah, I know. We're leaning heavily into streamer bait territory, but it's true. It's a solid way to make content with you and your friends because you are at the forefront, not the gameplay itself. They usually receive free content updates. If bang for your buck was something you look for in your games, then a lot of these games tend to have free content added to the game post-launch, especially if they've done well. This isn't applicable to every single Friendslop game, but it certainly is enough to warrant a point. It also means that you and your friends can have an excuse or a reason to come back to the game once you get bored of it. You're with your friends, and I know that's sort of an obvious point, but these games can be social events where no one has to focus all that hard on the game itself. It's a particularly chill experience, one that you can mess around with and crack jokes with your friends or loved ones. And sometimes it's nice to just have a night where you don't need to worry about hitting fucking diamond on siege or whatever. And finally, my last point, these games can typically run on any kind of rig. Because they're simple games with simple graphics. No one really gets locked out of the experience even if they don't have a beefy super NASA computer. So yeah, even your friends running that shitty Dell Optiplex can still join in on the bullshittery that occurs with you and your friends. But I'm not unbiased. I do recognize there are some negatives to this genre as well. These games are low effort. They're particularly indie, which means they're considered to be low effort and they don't have a full team behind them. I don't think that takes away from the experiences you can have, but it's absolutely a pain point for some people. These games can also be sorta janky. Animations might not be perfect, or bugs can persist for an extremely long time without resolution. I remember that there was a bug that affected Phasmophobia for a long time that didn't get fixed until a massive update due to the fact that their team was so small. And finally, I'm not gonna lie to you, okay? These games don't get popular on their own. They're designed to have moments that are easily clippable, which means the game gets free marketing, and that can annoy some people when their entire For You page on TikTok is just some trendy new game. In conclusion, these games tend to be developed by small teams or solo devs as a way for mates to have a bit of fun. They're meant to be small, tight, fun experiences that you can share with your mates. I don't think they're meant to last forever or be some live service giant that pushes updates every week. They're meant to be fun for you and your mates to screw around in, you know? Sandboxes with tools to make memorable moments and games where your personality can shine through. And honestly, that's what games used to be for, just for fun. I don't know when that stopped being the goal, or when people started playing games just to level up a battle pass or grind for a skin in a game they don't even like. And personally, I hope more Friendslop games come to the front and surface of gaming. I hope it shakes up the industry in a good way, and I hope it leaves behind a lasting impact on the way games are developed, instead of trying to nickel and dime everyone for more money in a game they already paid for. Maybe we should just give more chances to games that are meant to be played to have fun. Thanks for watching. This video was actually kind of a lot of fun to make. I got to dive a little deeper into the reasons I like my games and share my opinions on them, which is a beautiful thing when you think about it. I never really thought about why I was so drawn to them before, and now I have a bit of a greater understanding as to why. I hope you learned something along the way as well, like I did, but if you like this video, feel free to drop a like, or even subscribe to see more tidbits like this. But for now, that's all from me. I'll see you in the next video, gamers. Peace.